A very warm welcome to all the learners. I am Dr. Shweta Tripathi, Assistant Professor Mechanical Engineering from School of Engineering and Technology, Indira Gandhi National Open University, New Delhi. I welcome you all in the MOOCs of Energy Resources and Conversion Process. In our previous module, we have discussed the energy policy, and during our discussion, we discussed that to maintain this policy or to follow this energy policy, we have to learn conservation and energy auditing. So in this regard, we are going to discuss energy audit in this module. The learning outcomes of this module is to give you knowledge about energy audit. You will know why we need energy audit. You will also know what are the types of energy audit, and you will be able to identify that where you need prelim energy audit and where you need detailed energy audit. We will also discuss the energy audit with example of energy audit in our home. Energy audit. What is energy audit? Energy audit is actually a methodology which is devised to account for energy input, its utilization and output in any energy using process. More precisely, we can say that energy audit is a technique to know how, why and when energy is used. It therefore involves measuring actual energy used in a process and comparing it with an estimate of the minimum energy required so as to identify opportunities for minimizing wastage of energy, thereby improving energy efficiency. It also helps us to identify the scope of the art, state-of-the-art energy conservation equipments and scope for energy substitution, that is implementation of renewable energy technologies. We are going to substitute the energy that is generated from the fossil fuels or any other method which are limited in nature. We have to conserve them for the future. So we are going to substitute that energy source by implementation of renewable energy technologies. If we go for the definition, the Energy Conservation Act 2001 defines energy audit as the verification, monitoring and analysis of use of energy, including submission of technical report containing recommendations for improving energy efficiency with cost-benefit analysis and an action plan to reduce energy consumption. As we know that the efficiency of any system should be close to 100%, so that all the associated energy wastage is minimum. The relationship between energy input, energy output and energy wastage was already discussed in our very first module. What it was? It was that energy output is equal to energy input minus wastage. And what is efficiency? Efficiency is the ratio of energy output to energy input. So basically, if we see that energy output depends upon the energy input and wastage. If we are going to reduce this wastage, the energy output will be equal to energy input, and then we will get 100% efficiency. So what our objective is? Our objective is to minimize the waste. Reduction of energy wastage and specific energy consumption, that is energy consumption per unit of production, is the need of hour. We have seen that if energy wastage approaches zero, the efficiency of energy utilization approaches unity. What is energy utilization? It is energy efficiency, because energy input equals energy output. However, it is almost impossible to make energy waste equal to zero, but we can certainly make some effort to minimize it. If we take an example that a system takes 100 units of energy and converts only 80 units of energy into useful work, what is the efficiency of the system? It is EI is equal to 100, that is energy input is equal to 100. Energy waste, what will be energy waste? Input minus output. The 100 is our input, 80 is our output, the waste is 20. So our efficiency will be 1 minus 20 upon 100, that is 80 by 100 or 0.8%, 0.8 or 80%. Energy management. What is energy management? The main objective of energy management in any energy using process is to produce goods and provide services with the least cost and least environmental effect. The term energy management has been defined in various ways. Three definitions of energy management are: first, energy management may be thought of as a process of adopting judicious and effective use of energy to minimize cost and hence to maximize profits. We can also define it as it may be thought of as a strategy of adjusting and optimizing energy using systems and procedures so as to reduce energy requirements per unit of output. Energy management may be thought of as a mechanism to achieve and maintain optimum energy procurement and utilization. The main objective of energy management is to minimize energy cost and wastage without affecting production and quality. It also ensures to minimize the environmental effect. Now there are some fundamental rules of energy management. What are these rules? The first rule is to be sensitive to the market, procure all the energy needed at the lowest possible price. This may require us to explore the market availability of energy and to choose the original source. It means we have to choose to select the source which is available locally. We have to prefer those sources that are available locally. Second rule is the energy use facility should be operated at its maximum efficiency. We have to ensure minimum losses at every stage. If we are talking about the resources should be locally available, obviously we are minimizing the losses of energy transport. Distribution we have to minimize, users we have to minimize. So this is we have to ensure for it. Third rule is all the energy which is wasted, but if it could be reusable, we should reuse it. The energy use system should have a provision of waste heat recovery or cogeneration. Suppose we are talking about a thermal power plant where we are using boiler. What we have to use? The flue gases that are going out, we have to take out heat from them and transfer it to the water. We will use reheated water. What will happen? We are recovering the waste heat of the flue gas and utilizing it in preheating of the water. So it will help us to save and conserve energy. Then the rule 4. We have to use the most appropriate energy efficient technology. The guiding principle is that it should be low investment technology to meet the present requirement without affecting the environment. So these are the basic rules that we require for energy management. Now there is a question, why do we need energy audit? So we must have seen many units consuming energy and producing products. In fact, every production unit consumes a lot of energy. So if we talk about the energy consuming establishment or these production units, there are three major operating expenses. First is the cost of energy, second is material cost, and third is labor cost. And out of all these associated costs, we will see that the costs for the energy are higher than those associated with material and labor. Therefore, we need to take extra care of energy related issues, the thing which is more in terms of the thing which is whose consumption is more. We have to see that first. We have to concentrate and focus on that first. So first we have to focus on the energy cost. This energy audit plays an important role in identifying the ways energy is used and thereafter in determining the areas of energy wastage and suggesting the scope of improvement. Thus, you can see that energy audit is of paramount importance because it translates the conservation potentials into realities within a specified time frame. It could be short term, medium term, and long term measure depending upon what we are going to follow. An energy audit can be conducted by an employee of the organization who has appropriate expertise or by a specialist energy auditing firm. An energy audit report usually has recommendations for actions which will result in energy and cost savings. The report also indicates the cost and savings for each recommended action and a priority order for implementation. Now, if we discuss the types of energy, the energy audit or the types of energy audit depends upon the various factors like the type of industry, whether we are going for the auditing of a small scale, medium scale or large scale. It also depends upon the functions of the industry. It also depends upon the potential of cost reduction. It also depends upon the level of energy audit, which level of energy audit we need to do. If we broadly speak, the energy audit is classified into preliminary energy audit and detailed energy audit. If we talk about prelim energy audit or preliminary energy audit, as the name itself indicates that it is preliminary, that means it should be relatively simple and quick to perform. It uses only available data, whatever is available, and is conducted within 1 to 3 days. It focuses only on obvious energy wastage area and the resulting conservation measures that are to be implemented quickly without spending much time or money. If we talk about the steps that are undertaken, on the very first step, what we have to do, we have to identify the types of energy that is used in any form, whether it is electricity or we are using oil, kerosene, petroleum products, or we are using fossil fuel, we are using any kind of mechanical energy. So we have to identify which type of energy we are using and what is our total energy input, whatever input energy we are giving. Then we have, in the next step, we have to establish a balance of energy consumption. It means how much energy input we are giving and how much energy output we are getting. So we have to make a balance between energy input and energy output. We have to record these data. Then when we will see that we have energy input and we have energy output, it is quite obvious that whatever energy input we are giving, we are not getting exact energy output. So we will be able to identify the energy that is wastage, and from that energy wastage we will identify the area where this energy wastage is taking place and how much energy is wasted there. and accordingly when we'll know that this is the area and here we are wasting this much of energy, then we could think about that which energy conservation potential we could implement quickly without any expense or with minimum expense, so that that wastage could be minimized. And we will, in the last step, we will identify the areas for more detailed audit also. So this is a preliminary energy audit, and it will also give us the ways, or it will also help us to identify the area where a detailed energy audit could take place. If we talk about this preliminary audit, the simplest way is to understand the concept of energy audit by conducting an energy audit of our home. Suppose you want to do energy audit of your home. What you have to do? You have, first step that we had talked about energy audit is what? We have to think about how much energy is being used. So first we will identify that how much energy we are using in our home and where it is being used. How much energy is being used in our home? We can see it from our electricity bill, because major consumption of energy in our home is from electricity. Some small portion comes for the cooking etc., which is from the oil or gas. Generally we all are using gas. So gas monitoring we could do easily if we are having PNG connections. We could see it from the meter after every activity, and we know very well that we have to use this kind of vessel to save energy. We have to soak our pulses to reduce energy consumption. We all know it very well. We have to cook it in pressure cookers. We know it very well. But when we talk about the electricity, we don't know that we know that our electricity bill per month is about 2000 rupees. But how much energy we are consuming and where we are consuming, we don't know, and we don't want to know actually. So first you have to monitor this electrical energy, that how much energy you are using in your home per month. And then you have to identify where it is being used. You know the rated capacity of all the equipments that are installed in your home. You could identify easily if your fan is running for 5 hours, how much watt you are going to spend. If you are operating your air conditioner for 3 hours, how much energy it is taking, because the rated power you know very well, and the hours of duration of the usage of the appliance is also known to you, so you could very easily do it. So where it is being used also you know. Then comes the how much it costs. You make a list that per day air condition you are consuming this much of electrical energy, and what is its cost, and then you match it with the electricity bill that is coming there. Then when you will go for the how much it cost, and then you will also see that how much of the cost can be avoided. How could you avoid? Suppose sometimes the bulbs you are switching on is idle. Laptops you are putting in on or sleep mode, it is in idle mode. So you can see that, and accordingly you could see that how you could avoid this cost, how could you minimize the wastage, what you can save, where you can save, and how you can save. You yourself will answer these questions. Then investigate the energy use in your home. You make an inventory of all the energy devices that are in your home, lights, fans, how many are there, what is the duration of the operation, and at which time you could avoid their use. Then you monitor your monthly energy use. calculate the energy cost, you analyze the energy cost, that is it possible to minimize it, and you identify the energy wastage areas as well. Then decide what you could do for reducing energy wastage. Maybe you could see that somewhere you are using a bulb which is of more wattage, you could replace it from a lower wattage bulb. Many ideas you yourself will get. Then comes the detailed energy audit. As the name implies, the detailed energy audit gives more accurate estimate of energy savings and associated cost. It essentially involves all the steps mentioned under preliminary energy audit, and with that it emphasizes on some more features, that is energy used by all major equipments. We have to make that list also. Then accordingly we will make an energy balance calculation, and then we will also monitor the cost of energy saving measures. Suppose we have given that we are going to save the energy by installing solar PV. But what will be the cost of this measure? What will be the cost of the solar PV module? And if we are going to get the payback, suppose if I am installing a PV module and getting its payback in 5 years, and the project for which I am talking about is only for the 4 years, there is no use of installing PV module for the PV module, because I am not going to get the payback in that particular area. But if whatever I am going to do, or if I am going to install this PV module for some industry which is going for the 15 to 20 years, it is quite obvious that installing the solar panel will give me the payback at 5th year, and then I will be in the profit. So we have to consider this cost benefit analysis as well. Now if we talk about the steps that are involved in detailed energy audit, what they could be, the very first step will be the collection of primary energy data from the records. Then what we will do, we will conduct an energy survey for collecting energy data, the data for material balance, material and process diagram. Then in third step, what we will do, we will identify the conservation measures by carrying out energy balance. Then we will carry out cost benefit analysis of recommended energy conservation measures, and thus we will do this detailed energy audit. To do this energy audit, or to conduct the energy audit, we need various kind of equipments also for measuring the necessary parameters. These equipments are known as energy audit instruments or energy audit equipments. These instruments are required for establishing energy and material balance so as to identify energy wastage areas. These instruments are portable, easy to handle, and usually relatively inexpensive. There are several instruments that are used in an energy audit. All the energy audit equipments are broadly classified into two categories: electrical instrument, which measure electrical parameters such as current, voltage, power, power factor, etc., and mechanical instruments, which measure mechanical quantities such as pressure, temperature, flow, etc. So let us discuss them one by one. So first we will discuss electrical instruments. The energy audit requires the measurement of several parameters for collecting data related to energy consumption and the related processes. The most widely measured electrical parameters are current, voltage, kilovolt ampere, kilowatt, active powers, power factor, frequency and harmonics. Ammeters we have used in our 10th, 12th practical as well. And we very well know that these ammeters are used in generator leads, feeder circuits, auxiliary power circuits and field circuits, and they are used to measure current. Then voltmeters. Voltmeters are used to measure voltage so as to maintain proper voltage, check automatic voltage regulators, synchronization and with proper connection. Then comes the power factor meters. These are used to measure power factor in alternator and leads to check excitation and load division on the bus bars if a synchronous condenser is used to maintain power factor. Then comes the digital multimeter. What is it? It is a very handy instrument and is used for measurement of voltage, current and resistance. Then power meter. It is used for measurement of power in generator or feeder circuits. Power meter available in the market could measure current, voltage, active power, power factor, apparent power, reactive power, active energy and frequency as well. Nowadays several clip-on ampere meter, clip-on digital PF meters, clip-on digital watt meters are also available in the market. What do? Actually they measure the parameters without interrupting the connections. If we talk about clip-on digital wattmeter, it is an instrument used for measurement of power without interrupting the connections. Such type of instruments may be applied online, for example on motor, without stopping the motor. Clip-on digital power factor meter is used for measurement of power factor without interrupting the connection. Clamp-on ampere meter is available for measurement of current without interrupting the connections. Similarly, frequency meter for frequency, power supply frequency, and harmonic analyzer for measuring or analysis of harmonics in power system is also available in the market. Then comes the mechanical instrument, and in mechanical energy, temperature and pressure are very important. So for measuring temperature we use the thermometer, thermocouple and pyrometer. Several types of thermometers are available: glass tube mercury thermometer, gas filled bulb and tube thermometer, vapor pressure thermometer. It depends upon the application. It depends upon the temperature at where we are going to do the measurement. For example, this gas filled bulb and tube thermometer is used to measure the temperature of gases or liquids up to 550 degrees centigrade and indicate or record the same at a point about 100 meters away from the location of the bulb. Electrical resistance thermometer. It is widely used for accurate measurement of feed water and condensate temperature. It is also used to measure temperature of windings of electrical machines. Then vapor pressure thermometer. These thermometers are used to measure the temperature up to 270 degrees centigrade. Then thermocouple. Thermocouples are generally used to measure high range of temperatures such as the temperature inside the furnace, flue gas, preheated air, superheated steam temperatures, temperature inside the cylinder of internal combustion engine. We use temperature indicators. Temperature indicators are basically thermocouples used for measuring temperatures of flue gas, hot air, liquids, slurries, semi-solids, powders, etc. The indicators use different types of probes generally. Then comes the infrared thermometers. These are used for measuring temperatures from a distance using infrared technology. So there is no contact. These are basically non-contact type of measuring instruments and are useful for measuring hot spots in furnaces and surface temperatures. Infrared thermometer can be applied extensively in many fields such as induction heating, furnaces, kilns, refractories, petroleum, chemical, electronic oven, railway, textile, rubber, plastic, printing, etc. Everywhere we are going to use these infrared thermometers. Then comes the lux meter. What is lux meter? Lux meter is used for measurement of illumination level. It consists of a photocell which senses the light output and converts it into electrical signal, which are calibrated as lux. Then we have flue gas analyzer. It is used for measuring various gases and CO levels in the flue gas of boiler, furnaces, from engines, and calculation of CO2 percentage in excess air level and efficiency for optimizing the combustion efficiency. This instrument has inbuilt chemical cells for measuring these parameters. Then comes the fuel efficiency monitor. Fuel efficiency monitor is also used for measuring oxygen and temperature of the flue gases. The instrument makes use of calorific value of fuels to calculate the combustion efficiency. So working principle is different. Then we have many flow measurement devices for steam flow meters, water flow meters, air flow meters. We measure the flow rate. Then we have fuel measurement devices, gas meters, oil meters, etc. to measure the flow rate or the amount of fuel measurement, how much amount of gas or fuel or oil is entering. Then we have gas analysis. We have apparatus for CO2 and O2 measuring instrument, level recorders, emission analyzers. Emission analyzer will help us to measure the emissions, for example NOx emission, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, unburnt hydrocarbon. We have a smoke meter to detect how much smoke is available in our exhaust, either in chimney or in our engine. We have leak detectors to detect the leakage. We have the devices for pressure measurement. These are standard Bourdon tube, steam pressure gauge, helical tube or diaphragm type, low steam pressure gauge, vacuum gauge, and we use manometers as well for this pressure measurement. Draft gauges are also used for pressure measurement. Inclined glass tube, diaphragm, and liquid sealed bell types, and many other types of pressure gauges are also available for oil, air, and water lines. Now let us summarize what we have discussed in this module. We have discussed that an energy audit establishes both where and how energy is being used and the potential for energy savings. It includes a walkthrough survey, a review of energy using systems, analysis of energy use, and the operation of an energy budget, and provides a baseline from which energy consumption can be compared over time. We also have discussed that energy audit helps in energy management process. The energy audit plays an important role in identifying the ways energy is used, in determining the areas of energy wastage, and pinpointing the scope of improvement. We have also discussed that it will help us in identifying energy wastage in any energy using process. We discussed the prelim energy audit, which is relatively simple and easy to perform. It focuses only on obvious energy wastage areas, and the resulting conservation measures are implemented quickly without spending much time and energy. We have discussed detailed energy audit also, which can take from several weeks to several months depending upon the time or unit to be audited. The simplest way to understand and experience energy audit and energy conservation is to start energy audit of our home. We have also discussed all the necessary equipments which are widely used for audit purposes, which include electrical parameters, mechanical parameters, temperature, pressure, etc. These instruments are very handy as well. Thank you very much.